Hi, California probate attorney Scott Grossman here. Today I'm answering the question, does a surviving spouse have to do probate? Now, this comes up when I get calls from people who say either their mother or their father died and now it's their spouse, the father or the mother who has survived. So let's go with a stereotype just to illustrate the point. Let's assume your father has died, it's your mother who's the survivor, and you're wondering, well, with dad being gone, does mom have to do probate? Usually the answer is no. And the reason the answer is usually no is usually spouses have everything in joint tenancy, or they may have done their estate planning and put everything in a trust. If they're like most spouses and they've got everything in joint tenancy, their house, their bank accounts, their cars, what have you, there's no need to go ahead and do a probate. It's the survivor who's now on title, the survivor owns everything. You don't need a signature of your deceased parent, and so the survivor can carry on just as they did before. They've got good title, they've got full control, there's nothing that they need to do. The exception comes up oftentimes where we've got blended families, and occasionally even in a first marriage where something odd happened with title. So what sometimes happens is we'll see in a first marriage, we've got a spouse, one of whom had just terrible credit and the other of whom had good credit. So when they purchased the house, it went into the name of just one of them rather than both of them because of the credit problems. Well, if there was a deed recorded by the spouse with bad credit saying they're giving all of their ownership, usually it's done through a quitclaim deed, they're giving all of their ownership to the other spouse so that the other spouse owns it as their separate property, yes, you're going to have to do probate. In blended families, sometimes the planning that's done is the spouses will maintain assets in their own names, so it's clear when they die that the other spouse, at least in theory, isn't going to get it. Well, that may not be the case. If mom or dad died and those assets are in their name alone and there's no trust, yeah, you're going to have to do probate. Even if there's a will and it says everything goes to my spouse, well, because it was in only one name, there's going to be a need to do that. So when you've got this situation, most of the time you're not going to need to do probate, but checking on title to the assets is the key to knowing if you may be in the unusual situation where it's still needed.